The story of Rapunzel is dark and grim, full of questionable bargains, forceful princes, imprisonment, banishment, blindness, etc. But what if I told you there are even more grim versions of this tale? Older, different, and yes, grimmer than even the Brothers Grimm's. Well, of course, that's why we're here. Today's treat is a story filled with so many colorful and sometimes disturbing details, ogres, even worse, questionable bargains, ravenous animals, and so much more. Do settle in for one heck of a dark fairy tale. Our story begins with Pascadosia, who is naturally pregnant and looking out of a window at her neighbor's garden, craving parsley so much that she is about to positively faint. So far, tracking with Grimm. Problem is, this neighbor with a lovely garden is an ogress, which evidently means that rather than simply asking to have some parsley please, Pascadosia herself, not her husband, sneaks into the garden after creepily spying on the ogress and ascertaining that she has gone and swipes a handful of parsley. She gets away with it too, until the ogress wants to make some fresh sauce from her garden and realizes a sickle has been at work. She lets out a curse. May my neck snap if I don't collar this thief and make him repent so that he may learn to eat from his own cutting board and not dip his spoon into the pot of others. I mean, this is very reasonable. Not the neck snapping, of course, but it would be incredibly frustrating to grow and nurture your food just for someone to come along and swipe it. Anyway, Pascadosia keeps stealing the parsley until one day she is predictably caught by the ogress, who I wish had a name, but alas. She's livid and yells in righteous anger at Pascadosia, who tries to apologize, saying it wasn't gluttony driving her to sin, but rather she was pregnant and was worried her unborn's face would be sown with parsley. And what's more, at the time of this story, it was believed that if someone did not give a pregnant person what they craved, that person would be cursed with a sty in their eyes, making them red and puffy and swollen. So basically, Pascadosia, caught red-handed, well, green-handed, stealing, says the ogress is lucky she didn't curse her with a sty or two. But she never asked directly for parsley, so how was the ogress not providing for her craving and committing the supposed faux pas? Anyway, plot logic aside, the ogress is unfazed and feeling a mite murderous, and so threatens to end Pascadosia's life if she doesn't agree to give up the baby. Not a fair bargain, but it's struck nonetheless. I always wonder, why not just ask for the plants in these tales? Time passes. Pascadosia gives birth to a beautiful girl and names her Petronella, which means little parsley. Oh, so adorable. On account of the birthmark of parsley on the baby's chest. This mark again harkens back to some popular folk beliefs at the time, specifically about why birthmarks appear. That is, if a pregnant person's craving was not met, whichever part of their body they touched, the gestating baby would have a mark of the object of that craving on their body in the same spot. It's of course misguided, but here Pascadosia was craving parsley, was denied it, and at that moment must have touched her chest, making her newborn have that same mark on her chest, which would explain why she was worried about imprinting parsley on the babe's face if she touched her face while mid-parsley craving, and why she was so driven to steal it in the first place. She was trying to prevent a mark on the baby's face. You don't mess with pregnancy cravings, it seems. Unlike other tales, the ogress does not lay claim to little parsley right away. In fact, 7 years pass, and Pascadosia finally decides it's time to send Petronella to a teacher. En route, whenever the ogress sees the kid Parsley on the road, she tells her to tell your mother to remember the promise. Which is kinda grim, right? Petronella has no idea of the deathly weight this promise carries, but it annoys her enough after so many times that she brings it up to her mother. Pascadosia, living with the constant dread of being unalived all these years, couldn't bear to listen to the music any longer. Tells Petronella that next time when the ogress mentions the promise to just answer, take her. Which, wowza, yeah, the mommy is basically telling her kid to tell the ogress to abduct her, but without explaining anything about the situation, which makes it that much scarier for the poor kid. And it is scary, because after Petronella tells the ogress to take her, the ogress grabs her by the hair, ouch, and takes her to a forest where the sun doesn't shine much and locks her in a tower with no doors or stairs that she spelled into existence. Per usual, the way up and down the tower is Petronella's hair, which, by the way, of course, is super long and really strong and very healthy. The story does not say how much time passes, which would have been really helpful for finding out Petronella's age now, alas. Anyway, one day when the ogress is out, little Parsley decides she wants to change up her hair, lighten it up a bit. She sticks her head through the window, undoes her braids, and spreads her treated tresses out into whatever sun there is to let it work its magic. And of course, enter in the son of the king, who, when passing, quote, saw those 2 golden banners summoning souls to enlist in the ranks of love, and noticed that heart-enchanting face of a siren amid those precious waves. He became hopelessly infatuated with such beauty. Oh, I love Basile's language. Anyway, Prince decides he must have her, so begins long-distance negotiations, aka courting. Unlike Grimm's prince, who pretends to be Gothel and basically forces himself into the tower and on Rapunzel, this prince has max-level mind flirting, it seems. Over the next few days, he impartially bow, blow kisses, smile, dance, chat, wink, and nod, and make tender promises from afar. The courting goes so well that they make plans that, must take place at night. Petronella gives the Ogress a sleeping potion and then hoists the prince up on her braids where he, quote, made himself a meal of that parsley of the sauce of love, and then lowered himself down on the same golden ladder and went off to look after his affairs, as you do. This saucy time meetup is a regular thing, and I just have to wonder how the Ogress never suspected a sleeping drought after so many times. Also, that's one heck of a potion to keep her asleep through all the meal making. Anyway, all would go on and well like this, if not for a super nosy neighbor, quote, sticking her face in the shit. Tale as old as time. This busybody tells the Ogress that Petronella and the prince are cooking together an awful lot, and he's there all the time and expects he'll take her away from the tower one day soon. The Ogress is not concerned with Parsley escaping because you see, as she so boldly tells the neighbor in a supervillain monologue, unless Petronella has the 3 acorns in her hand, which are hidden in the kitchen rafter, escaping would be futile. But of course, Petronella got a bad vibe from the busybody and listened into this whole conversation. When the prince next visits, she has him find the 3 acorns which she knew how to use because she was enchanted by the Ogress, like she knew her magic style. The 2 lovebirds make a ladder from string and run as fast as they can to the nearest town together. Oh. It would be too easy and happy of a fairy tale were it to end here. And thanks to that nosy neighbor, it doesn't. The busybody screams so loudly that it wakes up the Ogress, even through a sleeping potion, I'm guessing. The Ogress climbs down the rope ladder and chases the young lovers, quote, faster than an unreined horse. When Petronella remembers the 3 acorns, she chucks one on the ground and out pops a terrifying Corsian hound. It races to the Ogress, ready to eat her in a single chomp, but she pulls out a loaf of bread from where exactly? Which distracts the rabid dog completely. The Ogress gains once again on the pair, so Petronella throws a second acorn, out of which pops a ferocious lion. Surely there's no escaping this big kitty with a maw 2 spans wide and ready to eat the Ogress for its midnight snack. Time is of the essence, but the Ogress backs off, finds a donkey in a field, and casually skins it in order to wear its skin. Seems time-consuming and messy. Wearing her new fresh fursuit, she runs to confront the lion, who gets so scared of the walking donkey that he is still running away to this very day. The Ogress keeps the donkey skin on in case the lion is on her tail, which turns out to be a bad thing because Parsley's 3rd acorn turns into a wolf which, without giving the Ogress time to find another solution, gobbled her up as if she really were a donkey. Yeah, wow, this got grim. But our young lovers now walk at a leisurely pace to the prince's kingdom, where King Dad grants them permission to marry each other. I'm not sure what ends up happening to the hound and wolf, the nosy neighbor, or Parsley's mom, Pascadosia. Well, I'm sure they fared better than the Ogress. And the donkey. Anyway, the end of Giambattista Basile's Petronella. It's a different twist on Grimm's Rapunzel. This Italian story predates their recorded version by a few centuries, but boy, oh boy, is it grim in ways of its own. Like, Parsley Rapunzel is a murderess? But there's so much about this that I adore. The long-distance courting in particular makes me laugh, and all the little details are just chef's kiss. I do like that Petronella later on, for the most part, has a big say in her own plans, unlike in Grimm's where all the bad stuff just kinda happens to her and she has to deal with it. It's always interesting to see what stays and what changes in fairy tales over the centuries. What are some of your favorite details? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in to hear this delightfully dark fairy tale. Subscribe so you won't miss the next one coming out of the cauldron quite soon. Goodbye!